I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep Running Your Mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
Hey, look, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fucked solid up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
I'm the best job outside the ring. I'm a fighter. Like I said before, ain't no safety on the clock, so I'm ready.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
What's going on? I'm Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. I know it's been a minute, since I've been doing my thing, you know what I'm saying? I've just been working out, staying out the way, working, trying to get this body right, eating right, you know what I'm saying? Coming up on the big 41 in December. Sad life, you know what I'm talking about? But, not this weekend, but the past weekend. We experienced the Wilder Fury trilogy. And I had stopped doing videos. My last video was right after the rivalry, and I had two different mindsets when it came to, analyzing this fight, my energy towards this fight. One was as a boxing purist. Two was having a black card that has never been revoked and having that challenged every time the subject of this trilogy came up. I experienced a lot of things, and it's just certain people and their favorite fighters, especially with certain content creators, when they ride for you, it's beyond boxing. And I was thinking that, the whole fight, all the events surrounding the fight, it started being very toxic in the boxing community, to be honest. And I just wanted to take some time to kind of hear what people were saying, hear from some of the other content creators, get a consensus. And from a pure boxing fan, I try to not be biased. If somebody's not moving the way that I would like them to move, I'll, talk about it. I'll say little things, I'll make videos, I'll comment or try to, stir some dialogue around and get that out there, because it's one of them things to where, I know this happened to me all my life. You come out and say something and somebody's like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but you're always the first one to say it. That's always been the kind of person that I've been. And so sometimes it's very hard to sit back idle and just, bite your tongue and not have anything to say. But I'm glad that trilogy is over. First I would admit that I was wrong, because I really thought that fight was not going to happen. But I don't want to start off there. I want to go back. I want to go back to the history and wrap this thing up. It's exhausting, it's toxic, and I'm glad it's over. And it shed a lot of light on the state of the boxing community and where we stand, and how, it's not a lot of boxing purists out here, contrary to popular belief. A lot of people say, oh, I love boxing, and, boxing is life, but it's really not about boxing, and that was shown here recently. It's about a whole lot of other things. It's a race war going on, which we know race plays a part in, everything we do. But there are some people that actually stir things up and make things out to be something that they're really not. Now, coming off, let's say after the first, let's start from the beginning, right? And I'm speaking from a boxing purist. I don't want to be shamed as somebody that was waiting on Deontay Wilder's demise and all this other stuff that people be saying, you know, when they can't win a valid argument. But the history goes as this. And I would say to anybody else who was in this category, especially like maybe, let's just fill in the blank with your favorite fighter. Let's just say that they called a man off of the couch who was overweight, contemplating suicide, on drugs, dealing with mental health. That would be called a cherry pick. Okay? We're not going to sugarcoat it. You know, that's what it would be. If Tank called somebody off the couch right now that's been out of boxing for 2 to 3 years, was contemplating, you know, hurting themselves, was on some kind of drugs, was out of shape, overweight, you would say, oh man, that man's cherry pick. You already say he is. So, it was a cherry pick. Okay, that cherry pick was fought to a draw. It was a lot of controversy, long count, it was a long count, all this other stuff, right? So, Mark Breland, who was one of the most notable amateur boxers and a Olympic gold medalist, threw in the towel on the second fight, and he was fired. Okay, so from the outside looking in, what a lot of people saw was the black man got fired. Okay, so that was one thing that some of the boxing community did not understand, especially with no proof being presented. You know, it's just like somebody falsely accusing you. I don't know if you ever been falsely accused of something, but if you ever been falsely accused of something, that's like somebody making a claim and then being adamant about that claim, you know, for close to 2 years, saying I got proof, and never furnishing proof. But you gotta live that reputation down. So the black man got fired from Deontay Wilder's camp. Okay, he was the boss, so he fired. He said that he wanted to go out on his shield. You know, and a lot of people thought that, you know, that was the right thing to do, because you still gotta, you know, you still would want to go home and be able to kiss your babies, tend to your family, because it's life after boxing, you know. But on Fury's side, he actually hired a black man. A black man in which I call him the SLBC, the sore losing boxing community. One of them said that they wished this man, the nephew of the great Emmanuel Stewart, he said that he wished he would burn up in the car. You know, so that right then and there, that meant it went outside of boxing. Deontay Wilder also has stated that the reason why he lost was because of the color of his skin, which caused Charlo, being the outspoken individual that he is, to have some words. You know, it was a call for boycott to boycott Jermell Charlo's fights. Many boxers, a lot of people started to decline even speaking on it, you know, saying they want to keep their picks to themselves. And that's where the infringement on freedom of speech, you know, started happening. You know, you had Chris Colbert. People started questioning his sexuality because of the colorful hair, even though he stated that it was because of different disorders. He'll change his hair color. But he was saying that it was about skills. The same thing Jermell Charlo was saying, it was about skills. They also included Jermall Charlo, which is Jermell's twin brother, and he felt some of the backlash. He didn't get his support on June 15th, and the SLBC was actually calling for heads to roll and for boycotts, which was all silly. I mean, because if you want to base everything on skill, that's one thing. If you want to base everything on something else because of judgment or whatever, like, it happens, you know what I'm saying? But in this instance, everybody was saying based on the skill set. Mark Breland had even came out after he got fired. It was Wild was his last stand. He said that Deontay Wilder did not like jumping rope. He said that he did not like hitting the heavy bag. They basically said that JD's would actually tell Mark Breland when Deontay Wilder was coming into camp, like, hey, he's not in a good mood today. Don't make him do this. Just let him do what he wants. So as a trainer, to put the onus on your trainer as the one that's supposed to prepare you and push you in ways that you won't push yourself and guide you in ways to be a professional, if you don't have basically a free right to reign as you like, then you're not really training. You're being a yes man. And I think that many of the people that was in Deontay Wilder's corner and some of the people co-signing a lot of the things that he said and done were a bunch of yes men. And I like to liken it to the type of people that would actually let their friend drive home drunk. You know your friend is messed up. You know that he don't have any business behind the wheel. You know that he should not be doing such. But you let him go anyway. You tell him, oh, yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah. Just yes. Everything, yes, right? And so they get pulled over or they get in an accident. They go to jail. They got to have a breathalyzer. They on probation. They facing jail time, fines, all that. And in the end, you say, oh, well, he would have been fine if he would have just went down Martin Luther King Boulevard and made that right. And you make up all these excuses. All these excuses for letting them drive drunk. We move the goalposts on what it takes to actually, at that stage, at that age, being 35 years old, at that age, reinventing yourself. Yes, if you had tools in the toolbox that was sharp, that you were using, that you just neglected to, because you fell in love with a particular punch, if you had those and was able to demonstrate those on a regular basis, basically where you weren't losing every round, other than knocking somebody out pretty much, that would be, you can advocate something like that. But to think that somebody can reinvent themselves and they just gonna come in as a whole new person and a whole new, no, it's not. All the weightlifting, all the extra weight, all that stuff. And it came down to, like what they said, skills pay the bills. We deify these boxers, and we all are a community that came together because we love boxing, or I thought so. But that's not really what it was. Okay, so leading up to the fight, he got Malik Scott, the guy who he had knocked out before, to actually train him. They're close friends. I don't really know. He said he can push him. He seemed like a pretty honest guy. I like a lot of the things that he was actually saying. But to think that he was going to get the job done, I don't know how. Not saying that it couldn't be done, but I don't really see how, how that was going to make an impact. Especially if you were basically standing firm on the fact that the only reason why you lost in the second one was because you got cheated.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
So we had the water allegations, we had the ref was drunk, heavy costume, loaded gloves, egg weight in the gloves, floppy gloves, all this stuff. And so everybody was saying, oh, he's going to be vindicated because, the only reason why he lost was because he cheated. Well, leading up to the third fight, there was a lot of things being said. Deontay Wilder said that Tyson Fury was going to be baptized. Tyson Fury said he who holds coal with the intent of harming his enemy is the one that's going to get burned. So they both quoted scripture. When asked about the weight and why he put on, I believe it was Kate Abdul, asked him, you see you put on some weight, and, this man said, because I wanted to look sexy, because I feel sexy, and I taste sexy. I don't know, man. Okay. So, all right, let's give him a pass because, I guess that's something. I don't know. As a Bowser fan, I really don't. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know who that was directed to, but that's. I don't know, because we always question masculinity. You know what I'm saying, when it comes to people. And, oh, man, the way Jamel Charlo talks, man, it's a compensation for his masculinity, but we never questioned the twerking. If you want to criticize a grown man for twerking in front of his family and, having fun in front of his family, a bunch of females, whether he twerk, that's your bit. If you're looking at him, no. We never really questioned. We never really questioned, the validity of whether that's true about somebody's masculinity. But when it's your favorite fighter and they do something suspect, we say nothing. We go mute. You know, it's like that's another thing about saying yes, man. Like, it's always been said that Jermell Charlo needs a publicist or somebody to actually kind of guide him in the things that he said, which I don't believe. But the taste sexy thing, it was kind of suspect to me. Then I haven't heard anybody talk about the wardrobe. Yes, it was no heavy suit. You know, the wardrobe was fly. I mean, other than the fact that it was like a red skirt. Nobody talked about the red skirt. Okay, so I'm not going to touch on that. But you could have some red shorts. That's just me. I'm just being purist. I'm just keeping it cut and dry. You know what I'm saying? Nobody said it. Nobody talked about it. Right? So the fight goes on, and, you know, it's an entertaining fight. And I struggled with, up until the last fight before the pay-per-view, I struggled as to whether I was going to buy it. I said, shoot, man, I can't miss this. You know what I'm saying? I got to see this. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be vindicated. You know what I'm saying? He's going to mollywop Fury, you know? You know, I mean, shoot, if all them allegations, if that's all it was, if that's all it was, he's going to mollywop Fury. I didn't believe that because boxing. It came down to boxing skills. It came down to ring IQ. That's what it boiled down to. And what wound up happening was Fury knocked down Wilder. Wilder knocked down Fury. And in the end, Fury knocked out Wilder, and the ref, he didn't knock him out. He knocked him down, but the ref called it off. So then we fast forward. You know, and I believe that a lot of it because a lot of people lost money on the fight. But a lot of people were so bent out of shape about it that they started coming once again with all of these excuses. Oh, you know, it was a long count. People with their stopwatches. I mean, I'm just like, look, man, a long count, especially, you know, when there's a mission that the man didn't walk to the right corner to begin with, and the ref has to stop the count. But you saw that before when he got knocked down. They said long count before. You know, I just think that, you know, it's kind of toxic when, as boxing fans, we can't just keep stuff plain and simple. And if you notice, I'm watching my language. We can't keep stuff plain and simple. We got to beat around the bush. We got to come up with all kind of excuses. Oh, man, it was the weight. He should have just, it was the weight. It was the, oh, man, he just wanted to lean. He was just, you know, it was just a bunch of stuff. A lot of people made a big what to do about them not shaking hands. I mean, I would have liked to see them do that because I think it would have been good for the sport. But that's not what got me bent out of shape. You know what I'm saying? As a pure boxing fan, just like anything else, it's just like when you go to the movies and you want to see the previews, then you want to stay to the very end and you want to see if they have that extra scene, like at the end of the first Black Panther, where if you wait after all the credits and all that stuff go through, it's an extra scene. And some people do that. Like, so for some of us, we want to see the whole picture of it all. We want the whole experience. We want to see how the crowd looking when the prelims are going on. Then we want to see the crowd come in. We want to see the stars. We want to hear from the sides. We want to see who's commentating. We want to see, the big fight advertisements. We want to see the ring walk. We want to see the fight. And then we want to see the post-fight interviews. So let's not move the goalposts on the fact that, yes, it was poor sportsmanship. After making all those claims, I mean, pride. It could be nothing more than pride. Pride said, no, I'm not going to shake his hand. Yeah, I'll dap these people up on my way back to the locker room, whatever, but I'm not going to shake his hand. Whether you shook his hand or not, okay, cool. It would have been good for boxing if you would have shook his hand. But you didn't. But you know, when I pay my money, you know what I'm saying? That's just like I don't like DAZN, but I have a DAZN subscription. Because I want to be able to see the fights. Because you can't just, I'm seeing now that you can't just rely on what these content creators are putting out here in the narrative. Because when you're looking at it through rose-colored glasses, or you looking at it with this bias and your fighter can't do no wrong and it's all this stuff. No, but that's not what everybody sees. Sometimes I watch fights and I turn the volume all the way down because I don't even want to hear the commentating on it. Especially when I know it's biased. But for paying my money, what disappointed me was I didn't get my post-fight interview. And if you're supposed to be a role model, or you're supposed to be a man of God, or you're supposed to be this whole almighty God this and God righteousness and, you know, blessed, highly favored, all this other stuff, then, I mean, you should have been an example for all the people that look up to you and said, look, man, yes, I got beat. Yes, I was disappointed in myself. Yes, the training didn't work. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to reshoot my azimuth and I'm going to strike off. But once again, like I said, our moral compass don't always point true north. I made a joke about it before that it got Peronis, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of bent, it's leaning. It got that little lean, that little curve to it. Because we never straight true north. The plausible thing would have been, would have been to give everybody the post-fight interview. I mean, we done seen some people get mollywopped out there, and, you know, it's like, man, yeah, you probably could have went back to the locker room. But you had all your faculties in order. You a man of God. You got all these people looking up to you. The right thing would have been to do was set the standard that whether you lose or you fail, like, you cater to the etiquette of the entire sport.
I'll take them how they come and make them look ordinary.
My son played football. And if the other team would have cheated and we had to face them again, yeah, we were going to submit the proof and you know, get them up out of there based on the proof. We're not going to let that ride. But if we say, oh, you know what, just play us again, and I don't care if my son and them got waxed, they're going to line up and shake hands. You get paid millions of dollars. So we didn't get a post-fight interview. All we do is we got a tweet a couple days later. And in the interim, what I'm starting to see is that a lot of people are more than just monetarily invested. The channels are monetarily invested. They compromised. And it's messing up the sports because for the start of a certain group of people, they said it was because it was to combat racism so they can have a comfort place where they can go and talk boxing. And here we are perpetrating the same wrongs that was done to us in our community. In this one group of people, I have personal experience. I have a couple personal experiences with it. The first time anybody who know me, one of the worst things you can do is something else worse you can call me, but like one of the worst things you can do is say I'm a coon or a monkey or something like that. So I had been kind of taking it personal. I was thinking, man, you know what? This certain community need to be dealt with. You know what I'm saying? I was watching, this is a little while ago, I was watching one, because I check in with them. I try to support. I've donated. I've super chatted. If you've been providing me entertainment or content or getting me through my day and I find some value in your show, I'm going to contribute to my show in words and in money. And I donated to one of the leaders. I donated to his channel. I donated to both of their channels, actually. I watched and liked videos, and I don't share a lot of videos, but that's just period. I just share my videos. But one day they were on there talking about everybody, like, you know, a bunch of black people moving to Texas and having land and doing this and this and that. And, you know, all I said was, in rebuilding Black Wall Street. what they said. They were talking about rebuilding. I was sitting there, I was going down the road. I was just like, man, this sounds good. Then I thought about it. I said, well, if we all do have more than conversation and we all decide to, migrate to somewhere and build and help each other out, I was like, man, if we don't have a military, and I'm military, I'm an Army veteran. I was a sergeant in the Army. I said if we don't have a military, we'll be rehearsing the mistakes of our ancestors. They said I was trying to raid on their parade, calling me all kind of monkeys and coon, and look at this coon here. He just can't. So comfortable. Me. Calling me a coon. So I fast forward, right, and I heard one of the videos because I wanted to hear from the sore losing boxing community, right? And there's only one person that kept it 100 about it, and that's Everything Boxing. I check in on him. I check in on his boxing because, in my opinion, he's one of the most unbiased people. If you stick with him long enough and you watch what he does, he's one of the most unbiased. He has his favorites, but when it boils down to it, he's strictly boxing. And sometimes, yeah, you can argue one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, well, yeah, blah blah blah. Might be slight favoritism here, but for the most part, he was the only one that kept it 1,000. He was the only one. He said, yeah, you can argue long count, but I'm not going to hold it to that. It basically came down to defense. He was the only one that kept it 100. And that's how the community should be. Everybody else is making excuses about being poor sportsmanship. I'm like, oh, and you have children that play sports? Like, your credibility about how to look at fights and your opinion on boxing and all that, it goes down the drain when you start showing your bias. But I watched these fools. The one fool said he'd be willing to push a button. Why? Because your favorite fighter lost in boxing? And then they came out and said what I've been saying for months. You know what? This ain't about boxing. So if it's under the guise when you getting all these super chats and y'all talking about boxing, or you're using that as your topic of discussion to get money or whatever, just come out and tell the people in every episode this really not about boxing. It's really not about boxing. This is something beyond boxing. Never in my life have I ever seen so much like BS. Like, get over it, move on. Like, that's what's wrong with the sport. Look at all the backlash. Jermell Charlo got backlash. Chris Colbert got backlash. Everybody was riding with Tio up until he said, after the second fight, he said, Deontay need to stop acting like the B word. Stop making excuses and get back in there and win. He said he liked them and everything, but all they heard was the B word. Stop acting like that. They were talking about Jermell Charlo's wife, calling her all kind of B's and saying, just all kind of crazy stuff, you know what I'm saying? But it's a double standard. So now T.O.'s supposed to police up his language. Jermell Charlo's supposed to police up his language. Because your king lost in boxing? I thought it was you win some, you lose some. Y'all wasn't in the street gunfight. People talk smack. So it was really disturbing. It's a toxic subject. Nobody could have their own time in this whole period of time leading up to this trilogy. And now even after, and I know why, because it's content. And the biggest nugget out of your content just took a hit. Saying he the greatest. And like I said before, we gotta stop using the greatest. Great. The greatest, the best. No. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the greatest fight. In my opinion, one man put on too much weight and one man was still out of shape, but he just had enough skills to get the job done. That's all it was. If they fought 10 times, it'll probably, I'll probably say I'll give it about an 80-20. That's my favorite number, 80-20 chance. The 80-20. Sometimes people just got your number. It ain't nothing more to it. It ain't no ill will. It don't need to divide the community. People don't need to be ready to push a button on the whole city because your favorite. Now people don't want to do business with people because their favorite fighter lost. You can't even have peaceful discourse now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody leading up to this fight, every boxer who had a boxing match coming up or a big fight, it got overshined by this trilogy. And that's not fair. It's not fair to the boxers. Maybe they didn't have a pony in that race. But now, now everybody's being put on blast as far as what most of these content creators is all about. And it's not about boxing. Mine is about bodywork boxing. I like to analyze fighters. I like to get in the know-how. I like to, look at the, but I'm starting to see now that narratives get changed. Now, Tio, he ain't worth nothing. He hasn't accomplished anything. He hasn't fought in over a year. Then all that stemmed from was what he said about Wilder. You can't negate that he went in there and beat up Loma just because you didn't like what he said about Wilder after the second fight. And I don't think it wasn't too many black, like pure black people that was actually praying for Deontay Wilder's demise. But you can't fan shame. Some of y'all got stretch marks. Y'all got stretch marks around your mouth. Stop, man. Stop being a yes man. Stop co-signing. He probably did need a tune-up in between that fight. But you know what happened when you got so much vengeance in your heart and you just want that get back and you're not thinking right. But y'all forced that man and y'all said yes and y'all acquiesced to everything he said he was going to do, and look what y'all did. And this is not even for Wilder. This is really for the OnlyFans. You got a lot of OnlyFans. You got Devin OnlyFans. You got Tank OnlyFans. You got Ryan OnlyFans. You got Bud OnlyFans. You got Wilder OnlyFans. You got Canelo OnlyFans. I'm not an OnlyFans. I'm a boxing fanatic. Yes, I have fighters that I like more than others, but I'm not an OnlyFans. I can admit that I want to see Tank fight the big, the big kahunas. I'm not happy with how Floyd is managing him. I'm happy because knowing his history, knowing where he came from, knowing that he got himself together, because a lot of people were praying for his downfall. Knowing that he's getting to the bag and he's following tutelage and he's being a idol out here for the young children. Yes. But I don't agree with everything. I'm a big Spence fan. It's a lot of things, that you can say about any fighter. It's like, no, I don't know him personally. I like what he does inside the boxing, and I like the personality. But when I endorse and co-sign every single solitary thing that somebody do, and I'm over talking people, and I'm being toxic, and I'm, trying to fight and shoot and do all this crazy stuff, over a boxer, we gotta stop. And stop trying to use, if it's all about race, stop going back and trying to get other people of other races like Teddy Atlas, because he had bet on Deontay Wilder and he lost, to say, it wasn't, Teddy Atlas says that it was not about the lack of skills. It was, Joe Rogan said that it was a long count and Deontay really won. Man, stop. Because just like I used Tank, because if Tank would have been the one that got mollywopped like that twice, with all that cheating and stuff, y'all have been like, I told you. We told you. Y'all have been some I told you so looking asses. But let's just get back to boxing, man. And if anybody see my video and don't like it or whatever, just say my name. Say my name. Cause I be conversing and chatting and you know what I'm saying, I be giving my little input, giving my take, good, bad, indifferent, what I saw, what I didn't like, you know what I'm saying, who I think is next. I give my little take, but if you got a problem with what I say, just say my name. Bodywork.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
My word, and I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
Hey, look, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fuck solid up, man. You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
Do that job outside the ring in the fighter. Like I said before, ain't no safety on the clock, so